Start this evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:04. Lisa, would you please take roll call? She will not be here tonight. Here.
Here.
Mr. Schumann?
Here.
Mr. Zabrowski?
Here.
Mrs. Ernesto? Here. Mrs. Berry? Here. Mr. Rosano?
Here.
Mrs. Bennington? Here. Mr. Butler?
Here.
Ms. Cochiola? Here. Mrs. Demaro? Here. Mrs. DeTuno? Here. Mr. Puckle? Mr. LeMay? Here. Dr. McLean? Here. Dr. Macri?
Here.
Mrs. Prescott? Here. Ms. Middlebrooks? Here. Ms. O'Leary? Here. Mrs. Shepherd? Here. Ms. Thomas? Here. And Ms. Whitesville? Here. Summer? Here. Marcel? Here. Anita?
Here.
And Liz? Here. Did I miss anyone?
I don't believe so. Thank you. All right, from here, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda, any additions, deletions, and a review of our meeting this evening. I do have one item recommended to be added as an executive session, proposed for executive session, and that item is for the discussion of a possible appointment of an assistant superintendent of schools effective July 1st, 2025. So with that addition, do you have anything else to add, Dr. Macri?
I do not.
All right, is there a motion to approve that agenda? Matt, is there a second? Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Correspondence, I have none to report. Do you have anything to report?
I do not.
All right. And from here, we'll go right to public comments. And before I call anyone up to speak, I'd like to just read the rules for public comment. Assuming there is public comment here, please, by a show of hands, are you here for public comment? Okay. Individuals are welcome to address the Board of Education for up to 3 minutes each during the public comment portion of the meeting, but board members will generally not engage in dialogue. The Board of Education chair may, at his or her discretion, extend the time for public comments. Speakers must come to the podium and share your name and address. To facilitate efficient sharing of your comments, we encourage you to share any comments you may have about instruction, discipline, or learning materials, first with your student's teacher, then principal, and followed by the superintendent, before bringing the comments to the Board of Education. However, if you do not believe your comments have been addressed appropriately, or if you believe they should be shared with the Board of Education for any other reason, please feel free to do so. Any complaints or concerns about individual Cromwell Board of Education employees should be directed to the superintendent and the Board of Ed in writing, rather than in public comments at Board of Education meetings. All comments must not include personal attacks, and comments cannot be discourteous, threatening, vulgar, or otherwise inappropriate. The board chairperson may, at his or her discretion, curtail any public comments or terminate any such individual's privilege of address at any time if they violate any of these rules, violate reasonable standards of decorum, are boisterous, or are repetitious. The Board of Education reserves the right to limit public comments to particular topics. The Board of Education values the well-being of our students and families. Those electing to make public comment at a Cromwell Board of Education meeting are strongly discouraged from sharing identifiable information of their children in such comments, including but not limited to name, age, and learning ability, and are also reminded that any comments made during a Board of Ed meeting becomes a matter of permanent record, and they may be accessible by individuals in the future. As such, any person making public comments during a Board of Education meeting is solely responsible for the information they choose to share. We kindly ask that you consider the privacy of your family and your children while making comments. And with all that being said, I'd like to welcome you up to the podium. State your name and address. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sagar Deve, and my address is 9 Smith Farm Road, Cromwell, Connecticut. And I am the president of the Cromwell High School sophomore class in the Cromwell School District. I am joined here by Ruja Butt, the vice president of the Student Council.
Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Bott. I live at 3 Sydney Lane.
So we are joined here by family members to propose the Board of Education should consider making Diwali, the Festival of Lights, a school holiday. Diwali is one of the most important and significant cultural and religious celebrations for millions of people around the world, especially for the Hindu, Sikh, Jain, and Buddhist communities. Recognizing this holiday would foster inclusiveness, cultural awareness, and respect for diverse traditions within our school district.
Okay, so Diwali is celebrated annually, typically in October or November, and it marks a time of joy, renewal, and family gatherings. The festival is deeply rooted in spiritual and cultural traditions, symbolizing the victory of light over darkness and good over evil for many families, and is a day of religious observance, family reunions, feasts, festivities, making it a significant occasion in their lives. In the recent years, there has been a growing movement toward the recognition of cultural and religious holidays in public schools. And as a diverse community, it is important that we celebrate the cultural richness of all of our students and provide them with opportunities to grow their traditions and values. Diwali is celebrated by a significant portion of the population in our district, particularly the Indian American and South Asian communities. By acknowledging this holiday, we create an environment that respects and celebrates the cultural diversity of our students and staff. Making Diwali a school holiday can provide an opportunity for students to learn about different cultures, fostering a more inclusive and understanding community. By recognizing Diwali, the school district can build stronger relationships with the local communities. Many parents and community organizations could support the schools through cultural events, volunteering, or donations, enriching the learning experience for all students.
Now, to add to all this information, we respectfully propose the following action to add Diwali to the school holiday calendar in alignment with other major religious or cultural holidays currently observed by the district. In conclusion, making Diwali a school holiday would be a positive step toward promoting cultural inclusion, respect, and understanding in our school district. It would allow families to celebrate this important occasion, provide students with an opportunity to learn about cultural diversity, and demonstrate our commitment to honoring the traditions and values of all our students. I urge the Board of Education to consider this proposal and to take the necessary steps to make Diwali a recognized holiday in our school district. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to the opportunity to discuss this proposal further. Finally, we want to thank Mr. Kuckle and Ms. Williams for guiding us and showing their support throughout this process. Thank you.
Thank you both for being here. You did a nice job, and we will take it under advisement. Are there any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to celebrating our faculty and staff. And this month, we're celebrating Cromwell Middle School. Mrs. Cochiola, if you'd like to come on up.
So we're going to start with Dr. McLean first, and she'll celebrate staff because the two people we're going to celebrate along with the full staff might be a little shy to celebrate themselves.
They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be at all.
It is my distinct pleasure to recognize Ann Cochiola and Andrea Middlebrooks for their outstanding leadership at Cromwell Middle School. Recently, CMS was noted in the U.S. News and World Report as one of the 2025 best middle schools in the state. We placed in the top 40%, which gives us the honor of making the U.S. News Best Middle School list. Ann and Andrea work incredibly hard to make sure that our students are getting the best middle school experience possible. I will always remember when I first, and I think I've told you guys this story before, when I came and I started looking at the data and I discovered that the middle school was, especially in math of all things, was like the shining star. And that really just isn't always the case. So after working with Ann and Andrea, you can't help but feel their commitment to excellence and their passion to improve curriculum and instruction for our students. It is an absolute pleasure working with these two passionate, intelligent women, and I want to congratulate them on this achievement.
Thank you so much. That was just an incredible, when I was actually meeting with Dr. Macri for my goals for the year is when she shared that really awesome information. And it was just, the both of us were just so proud and so proud of our staff. And I just have a few words as the proud principal of CMS. I definitely want to express my sincere gratitude to all of our incredible dedicated staff. Superintendent Dr. Macri and the members of the Board of Education for your steadfast support, which you've always been instrumental in helping us achieving this recognition. We couldn't do this without all of us together working as a team. We also want to give a shout out to our students and our families who work with us as a team every single day. I mean, they're why we're there. And this award is certainly a reflection of CMS's dedication, hard work, and commitment to placing our students first. And Andrea and I both want to continue to make that positive impact together, and we're proud to be part of the CMS, our outstanding team. And I can only keep saying we, because we're definitely not doing it alone. And we're proud to be recognized as part of the top 40% of our state. That's pretty cool, as we say, you know, I'm being middle school now. We earned this recognition for our reading and math proficiency, and we have 100% teacher certified, and we have a student-teacher ratio of 11 students to 1 teacher, and from this we can only get better. And of course, I'm such a nerd. I went through and looked at all the criteria as to how we're chosen and so on and so forth. So if anybody wants to read this, it was pretty fascinating to read. And the data was taken from the U.S. Department of Education, and they used state assessment data in this ranking, and they sourced it from 21, 22, and 22-23 school years. So, you know, none of us could, you know, flip them a 20 and say, hey, you know, put us in there. So we're pretty excited about being that 40%. And we just finally want to recognize our students who come to school and soar every day. They persevere in their studies, and they make CMS a good place to learn. And I want to say, above all, thank you to the students. So thank you, everyone, for that recognition. It was pretty cool. And of course, I went through numbers, so if you want to know how our neighbors did, come talk to me later.
Congratulations to Cromwell Middle School and to both of you for your leadership. All right. And next, we'll be celebrating our students. Do we have a separate item for that?
Oh, that was it.
That was it. Okay. All right. Reports of liaisons from the Town Council, Board of Finance, Building Committee, and that is all. I do not have anything. Is anyone here from any of those committees? I don't believe so. And the report was sent out a bit late, but it'll be attached to the minutes. Lisa has it. And it's also linked to the agenda. Thank you. So take a look at that when you get a chance. All right, and moving on to reports of our student representatives. And let's start with the high school. Summer?
Wait, is this on now?
It's on, yeah.
Oh, there's a light. I'm sorry, I've never had this one before. Yeah, it is. Students had a blast at homecoming on November 21st, which Student Council set up and cleaned up, and Unity Club also sold refreshments and snacks during it. Leading up to homecoming, we had Spirit Week, including some fun days like Tourist Day and Pink Out, along with School Colors Day. Cromwell students and Cromwell juniors and seniors participated in the annual Powder Puff game. Sorry. Girls played flag football, juniors against seniors, with the coaching help from current football players. There was also a fun halftime performance from some boys taking on cheerleading. The game ended with juniors winning, but a lot of us are calling unfair reffing. On Wednesday, November 27th, Cromwell had its pep rally hosted by seniors Alex Abdelghani, Brody Olander, and Owen Friend. Students were very excited, playing games, calling out fall sports, and some lighthearted teacher torture, taping Maher on the wall and pieing both Coach Joe and Mr. Anderson in the face as a fundraiser for scholarships for seniors. We will participate in the CCMC Pajama Day this Friday, which students will make a donation for CCMC to wear pajamas for the day. And on Friday, before winter break, the 20th, students will participate in reindeer games, where there are many fun winter or holiday-themed activities hosted by different teachers that students get to spend a portion of their day participating in.
Thank you.
All right, I got my own microphone this time. I'd like to start off by saying the Cromwell Fall sports season has officially ended, with many successful seasons. The football season ended with a record of 8-2, but lost in their first round of playoffs. The CHS Fall senior athletes gave their jerseys to a teacher who made an impact over their 4 years at CHS. You could find photos of their exchange on the Cromwell Panthers Cromwell Panthers sports Instagram page. The boys basketball team has started, and they have a game today in the gym against Manchester. Girls basketball has also started. They played yesterday against Enfield. Indoor track has started. They have their first meet tomorrow, the Shoreline developmental meet. Boys ice hockey has started. Their first game is against Chester on the 14th. boys swimming, they have a meet on the 20th. And then finally wrestling has started, and they have their first meet on the 21st.
Thank you. Any questions for our high school representatives? All right, thank you both. And we'll move on to the middle school. Who wants to start us off?
Grade 7 Team 2 has earned a kickball for their incredible support of the Student Council food drive. Due in no small part to the inspiration of Mrs. Pavlik, the team donated well over 500 items. In total, we were able to donate over 1,000 items to the Cromwell Food Bank. The Student Council is now running a toy drive through December 13th to benefit CCMC, also known as Connecticut Children's Medical Center. The Student Council has also begun collection of used sneakers for recycling. The Yearbook Club started working on the layout of pictures from fall sports. This month they'll be working on photographing winter sports and students soaring across CMS. Under the direction of Mrs. Sales, the jazz band has been conducting successful rehearsals in anticipation for the upcoming concert in February. The students are currently studying various music styles, including swing, Latin, and rock. Additionally, they're enhancing their improvisational skills by utilizing the blues scale in Dorian mode. Select Choir has been meeting every Wednesday with Mrs. C to rehearse their selections, which will be performed in concert in February. The CMS chorus and band will perform at Cromwell High School on December 13th.
Drama Club. Cast and crew lists have been posted, and the Drama Club has begun rehearsals for their production of Into the Woods. Robotics Club. Under the guidance of Mr. Mateus, continues to meet regularly to problem-solve, design, test, and redesign. Unity Club, under the guidance of Mr. St. Ange, plans to travel to ECS to read stories with multicultural themes to our youngest learners. World Language Club met for the first time this year and discussed their exciting plans for the school year. Art Club with Mr. Glowa has completed final drafts for the wall murals to decorate CMS for its final days. Sports. Basketball. The boys and girls played their first basketball games yesterday against East Hampton.
Thank you both. Any questions from the board? Comments? All right. Thank you very much. Okay, from here, move on to town collaboration updates. I have one. Our working group met again yesterday. Last night, we met with Board of Finance, town council members, Mayor Dimitriadis, and then Claudio was present. Matt, Steve, and myself were there. This is to continue discussion of the Gordian report and the recommendations from that and trying to meld it with the town needs. So that we're continuing to talk. Claudio is putting together a priority list. He already has a priority list. We talked about some items from last year that maybe could be added to that weren't necessarily on that list. And then it'll come to the facilities in January, and from there it'll have to go through the town process. So that's where we are with that. Anything? Oh, and one thing I want to mention is I did ask about the track because that's not currently on the list, and Mayor Dimitriadis is very adamant that he wants to pursue getting that fixed. So no worries there, even though it's not on our list, it's hot on his radar. So did I miss anything that you can remember, Matt or Steve? Anything you want to add?
Just about the track, it was, I guess when they took a kind of a deeper dive into looking into the condition, the foundation underneath is actually in good shape, right? It's the surface that's really the issue. So it doesn't look like it'll be as expensive as originally thought it could be, which is always good news.
Yep. Is Claudio here? Claudio, did you want to add anything? I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. No? Did I cover that? Okay. Okay. Thank you for your hard work on this. Superintendent's updates and responses to Board of Ed comments, action items from the prior meeting. Dr. Macri.
I was going to talk about the town collaboration, even though
Sorry.
No, even though I wasn't there, and thank you for the huge responsibility that you all take on. Oh, what a different world from 6 years ago. And the people who are benefiting the most are the children in Cromwell. So everyone should be so proud. This is an incredible accomplishment of the work that we are doing together. I really want to thank Claudio for getting together every single thing that's asked of him in a quick manner, between me and the Board of Finance and the mayor, and you guys are pretty nice about asking for things. He's constantly getting us lists and prioritizing and getting us prices, and it looks pretty good right now. We've done a lot of work. We have a lot more to do, but we're hopeful and excited. I attended the ECS and WIS PTO meeting the other day and talked a little bit about this. And then I just gave everyone a highlight of what's been happening in every school as far as facilities and what we've been working on. And then also the changes in curriculum and instruction. And there have been so many as far as the early literacy program and everything else that we've been doing. And I had a lot of great questions from parents who just really want to be involved curricularly. And then, of course, I did have 2 parents who kept pushing me on uniforms. So I said I would bring it up tonight to you, since that isn't under my purview. See how I take it away?
They want the uniforms?
That want them. Everyone else in the room was very quiet about it. So I just said I would throw it out to you. And we have PJ Day for Kids for CCMC on Friday, and we are always great contributors as Cromwell Public Schools, and I will be walking through Cromwell Middle School with Representative Carpino on Friday, and we're just going to go around and say hello to all the kids, and they're really excited about this day. So I think that's it, unless you have any questions for me. I feel like the Friday reports, I give you so much, but if there's anything you want to ask me, please do.
I feel like uniforms have come up before. Is it the same group?
I think one person is part of the same group, and in trying to, it's a difficult conversation with a lot going on, and it's never a popular conversation with most of our kids. You understand both perspectives, you really do. You see both sides of it. It's really difficult, and do I have a desire to have those conversations? Probably not. I think I'm more right now following the cell phone policy and looking at that versus what our students are wearing to school. Of course, we want our kids to come to school dressed appropriately and ready to learn. But at the same time, the cell phone usage causes a little bit more of an issue than the student dress. And we are a public school system that doesn't, freedom of part of who you are is what you wear. That's my personal opinion. But at the same time, I wore a uniform for 9 years of my life, so I understand both perspectives. It was nice and easy. I want to wear one now, actually.
Uniforms aside, any other questions for Dr. Macri on her update? No. Okay. Then thank you. We'll move on to presentations and reports of administration, the 2024-2025 budget update, reference A in your packets. And Mr. Butwell is here for that. Appreciate the email you sent out too regarding the lunch account balances. I saw that.
You're welcome. Hi, everybody. From the memo in your packet, things are going smoothly with the budget expenditures so far this year. Not really much to report. I did just want to say that, of course, our big priorities right now are getting ready for the 25-26 budget. So we've begun that work in the office. And as I mentioned in my memo, really working on trying to calculate the special ed reimbursement costs for this year so that we can get a really accurate picture of where we stand fiscally this year. So those are our 2 big focus.
Any questions? Matt?
Just with the special ed reimbursement costs, are we anticipating that those are going to help lower or help out with the deficits we have between tuition and the pupil services? Will that go towards addressing those? Because pupil services is taking a big chunk here.
Yes, absolutely. We started the year with a very, very conservative reimbursement number, and we'll expect that number to look a little bit better as we get a more accurate
We're hoping
number.
even.
Huh?
We're hoping even.
I'm not going to make promises, but it will get better, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this report? None? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next up, under new business, we have an ESS update. And for that, I assume Sari O'Leary, Director of Special Services, will be presenting. Sure, about the last topic? Or
Yeah.
going back to the budget?
Before you referenced an email about lunch money, and Ellen and I were just
Yeah, sorry. It went to the, parents
right,
and
but
families.
typically we as board members would get a copy also. Is that on things that go out? Is that something that we should have gotten to, or?
So you don't, so you, if you're not a parent, you don't get everything like flyers and things like that. I could, Lisa forwards to some people, I could just add.
Well, can you just elaborate on it so that those of us
So basically,
know
we still
what you're
have.
talking about?
I spoke about this at the PTO meeting as well, about people owing money, as we always talk, and being in debt with their food services, their meal plans. So I listened to some parents who said, we don't get notifications, and I said, no, we send out so many notifications. I feel like we over notify you. And a couple of the parents said what they realized was if they don't have their phone turned on to notify me when I am below a certain, it tells you you're running low. Yeah. It doesn't tell you you're $500 short or something like that. So
Yeah, it does. It tells you what your balance.
you have to go in and be like you have to accept to be notified. You could never get a notification if you opt out. So some parents didn't realize that they were opted out. So we talked about what to do so that you can opt in to get those messages. So Chris, Mr. Butwill talked about that, and then he can let you know. I forget what else the rest. Yeah, do you mind? Because I can't remember the rest. We send so many things out, I don't remember. That was one thing.
The message was basically about the My School Bucks account, that there's a feature in the My School Bucks that, even if you don't know what that is, that's the online payment feature. If you want to load your student's lunch account with money ahead of time. If you wish to receive a notification when those funds get low, you just have to access it through the My School Bucks account, but you don't need to necessarily use that account to pay if you don't want to, because there are fees associated with it. So we just wanted to let families know that we often, as we try to track, let families know about their high costs. Sometimes when we contact them, they're very surprised and they wish there were a way to be notified. So basically we said there is a way. You just have to toggle that button on your My School Bucks account.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back.
All right. This is Erin Chanel, and then we have Natasha King. I think she's in California, right? Yes. She's also on Zoom with us, and we have an ESS update for you. For those of you who maybe forgot or
Sari, can you just speak into the mic? I'm sorry.
I love that it's happening to Julie because her face is going to be so red. We have ESS now at the middle and the high school. So this is a really exciting update. And right now at the middle school, we have 1 clinician and 2 at the high school. And I think we're all very
Can you
pleased.
speak more directly into it? I'm so sorry.
I think we're all very pleased with how it's been going. So I'm excited for Erin to help share some of the information.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Chanel. So you may remember me from previous Board of Ed meetings. So tonight I'll be presenting on the updated data. And Natasha King is our VP of Funding and Innovation. She's over in California. She is also going to present one of our latest programs, which is a commercial insurance reimbursement program, which can help offset costs and provide savings to provide our services. Okay. Natasha, do you want to pull up the PowerPoint?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You probably hear me better than Erin. You better speak in the microphone.
Okay. I can be really loud, so I'll just get loud. So, what I was just saying is that the data from this current school year will just go over marking period 1. That's kind of like our first slide. You can toggle to our executive summary, Natasha.
Oh.
All right, you might have the. This might be an older version. Let me share. I'm going to share the link to you right now.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. So while she's pulling that up, I'll just let you guys know. So tonight I'm going to go over how we've provided a large number of services. So I'll go over total as district-wide. I'll break it down by the schools as well. This is our first year with the middle school, so it will look slightly different from our progress at the high school that's been more well-established over the past 2 school years. But overall, our services have been extremely high. So far, just in marking period 1 alone, we have provided 798 total therapeutic services and 579 services that we'd consider other. We've delivered that to 29 total students with an average of 4.3 services per student per week. 75% of our students that have been academically struggling have shown significant improvement. 50% of the students with chronic absenteeism are showing improvement, and 86% of the students with discipline history are showing improvements. We have also this year provided behavioral consultation at the middle school. So we've had on-site supervisors and a consult individual from our team come out and observe, provide feedback, provide strategies. And we are also currently discussing 12 hours of professional development that we would like to apply to assist the middle school as well. So this is just the snapshot overview. This is for the entire district, so both schools. So this kind of breaks down those services and events. So that large number of services is 793, and then you can see the 573 are considered what we call other. Those are our collateral contacts. So any times that our clinicians are contacting parents or working with a teacher, and it's not a therapeutic intervention, we will still track that data. But overall, the rest of the breakdown, that 793, totaled 165 individual services. PRN are those crisis as needed sessions, therapeutic check-ins, administrative, whether that's an administrative meeting or something like a PPT, academic support, family services, assessments, and group therapy. Our next slide is going to be the actual data. So if you remember, like at the end of last year, we did go over kind of like that year-to-date data. This is just from marking period 1 for this year. This combines both the high school and the middle school. So we've had a 64% change in attendance, where the baseline of those students went from an average of 10.19 down to 3.67. The discipline had a negative change of 53%, where disciplines were an average of 0.85 down to 0.40, and GPA has gone up 21% from 1.83 to 2.21. So those are the averages. If you look, you can see where there's an improvement or no change. That's what we consider either maintenance or improvement, which is pretty significant numbers. So
I'm sorry, we're just having a little bit of difficulty following along because we
sure.
unfortunately didn't have this to review, so we're just
That's
trying
okay.
to catch
Do you wanna
up.
go
So,
back?
Catherine, did you have a question? You wanted something clarified?
You talked about discipline, and I don't understand what your stats
So-
were, and it's difficult to read that.
Sure.
So if
Gotcha.
you could clarify some of your stats on discipline.
So the 3 areas in which we track our data would be academics, so GPA. Disciplines would be log entries. So like the students that have like behavioral issues, they're in school suspensions, out of school suspensions, others like detentions. We track the number that they had per quarter, and we calculate that and we input that data in every marking period. So when a student comes in, we'll take either what we consider their baseline data is the quarter before, or if they don't have a significant amount of time in that quarter, say they were referred at the end of the quarter, we'll utilize that first quarter 1 as their baseline data. So we take that number that they've had in those days, from say they've had 11 unexcused absences, 3 log entries, and then whatever their GPA is. Then we compare that each quarter. So each marking period, we run the data. And then we can kind of compare and contrast where they were from baseline to where they are at present. So this is for all the students that were in the sample. So this is all I'm sorry, I was going to say 3 schools, not yet, for both the high school and the middle school. So though the discipline is it's the log entries. So while it wasn't significantly high, you still do see a decrease, right? So there was like 0.85 is less than 1 occurrence per marking period, but it's still reduced down to 0.4.
And is that the average of all of the students that are in there?
This is the average of all of the students. In the coming slides, I will break it down by both the high school and the middle
So some
school.
students have no log entries.
They may
because
not.
They may not have baseline
They
data.
may not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And then any other questions on the district-wide data? Okay. Thank you so much for asking and make sure I clarify it. So I'll break it down. The high school is a much longer standing program. We've been here for 2 full school years, going into the 3rd. We'll see the attendance there shifts, right? So not the same as the average overall from the district data, still continues to decline, where we had 14.43 as our baseline number of absences, down to 4.57 in marking period 1. You can see that there's about a 78% students are maintaining or improving. That creates a negative 68% change. The discipline as well has gone down. So you see here at the high school where it's about 1.08, it has gone down to 0.23. So maybe even some of those students who had a few disciplines are not showing any for this marking period. GPA as well has shifted and gone up, where students were at 1.50 for baseline and are now at 2.03. Any questions on the yes?
Just out of curiosity, if we have a student who is included in the data from last year, and they and their family moved out of district or they were outplaced, are we wiping out their data from last year when it comes to the current data, or are we continue to include that? Are we carrying it forward?
They would not be included just because this would be the comparative data for students currently enrolled in the program.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of. Thank you.
And this would just be reflective at the end of quarter 1 or marking period 1 as well. So this is through November 1st. So like if I ran the data through current day to day, that would shift. We'd have dramatically more increase of, let's say, like services and things like that. We wouldn't have new GPA or log entries and things like that because we only enter that once a marking period. So we wait till the end of the marking period. So moving on. So I think Natasha already pulled up the middle school data. Like I said, this is a brand new program, so a lot of the intakes occurred just in marking period 1, so the data will not necessarily be exactly like as dramatic as the high school, but we can still see that there is some data here. So with attendance, we began tracking it. We inputted the baseline of 1.71, not a significant shift where it has gone up slightly to 1.86. Log entries or disciplines, we had logged them at 0.43 as the baseline. We're seeing slight increase in that, and sometimes that does happen when we first begin a program because sometimes we are providing psychoeducation or feedback in administrative meetings, holding students accountable, and assisting like administrators with recognizing whether or not it's a therapeutic intervention or not, or where we need to hold them behaviorally accountable. GPA, again, not a significant change, but a lot of these students came in marking period 1, so we do want to see what the difference is, say, like by the end of the school year. We'll have a much more bigger contrast to see. But still, their baseline GPA is 2.49. We still did see a shift up to 2.59. And just as a refresher on the next slide, we do utilize the PHQ-9, which are patient health questionnaires that really kind of assess and follow depression diagnoses. The GAD-7, which is a generalized anxiety scaling score. I know we talked a little bit about this in our last Board of Ed meeting as well. And then we do track what our common diagnoses are for our students. They are on a variety of diagnoses, but we do continue to monitor throughout the year where they're falling with those scales. It's a really good, helpful indicator for us to provide different interventions, see that our students are improving, or if they're declining, you know, what is it and why are they declining? So it's a very helpful tool for us to monitor the progress of the students as well. So in general, that is most of the data that I have compiled to present for you for marking period 1. At this point, Natasha King is going to discuss with you our commercial insurance reimbursement program.
Unless questions for you, Erin.
Of course.
None.
Any questions
Okay.
for Erin?
Nope, it looks like you're good to go, Natasha.
Okay.
You want to?
Hi,
Perfect.
everyone.
Oh.
Nice to meet you, even though you can't see me. I can see some of your faces. I am on the West Coast in California. I actually was recently on your side of the house in education. I finally made the jump to the private world. In my last position, I was overseeing 33 school districts, so I am very familiar with education. I'm here to talk to you about reimbursement in terms of adding that into the educational world. So really looking at how do we marry education, mental health, and the medical world, which is something very, very new. Recently, it was written into the law in California, so we are looking at having a fee schedule, and we currently do, and we have the ability to bill parents' insurance for all the services we provide in the education setting. So you guys are a great partner to us, and what we are doing is looking at how do we partner with districts and think outside of the box. Districts are really looking at having to put money in many different places that we didn't have to before, and I think we were kind of set up for not such good things with ESSER funding. When we were looking at COVID dollars, we were in a pandemonium for a while, and we had to build programs for students, and then we were left on how do we fund these programs, especially mental health. We're kind of in this mental health pandemic right now, and we need to figure out how do we fund these programs moving forward in a really sustainable way, but we don't have the funds to do it. Students right now, the acuity level is going up, and our funding is staying stagnant, and we need to figure out how to fill that gap. So we're really committed to thinking outside the box and partnering with our districts to think of those creative ways to do so. So our team really came up with a really creative idea. What we're doing is working with insurance companies and billing insurance companies for to reimburse for those services we're providing in the education setting. We're really looking at it from a clinical perspective of being able to reimburse for 4 services. We're starting lean because it is newer, so we're looking at being able to reimburse for individual, group, family, and assessment. It's very similar to what Erin just presented on you, or with you on. The situation is you guys are having to allocate expenses in many different areas. We want to continue to partner with you and look at how do we build contracts for a longer period of time. Education really does typically look at contracts for a 12-month period. We want to look at how do we build those contracts from a 3 to a 5-year period of time. Mental health issues do not go away overnight. And so we want to be able to build a platform to submit for reimbursement on your behalf, and then offset your contracts moving forward on an annual basis. And so when I was in education and wanting to do this, I did not want to take the burden of building that platform and marrying HIPAA and FERPA and then submitting for reimbursement. I did not go to school to do that at the time when I was in education, and I didn't want the burden of having to dealing with the reimbursement and claims. And so now that I'm in the private world and have the time and the bandwidth and the resources to do so, I want to be able to give back to education and do it for them on their behalf. By doing this, education can really relieve that burden of the administrative burden, allow us to do it on their behalf, work with parents, gather the information, and then lower the cost or offset the cost of their contract. You can then provide those critical mental health services in the education system. We know that kids are going to be make more progress in the education setting and keep them in the 4 walls of the school building. They will make more progress, 6 times more progress actually, in the education setting, and keep them from going in the outside placements, such as an outside, like a non-public school or a residential treatment center. And then we also want to keep them with their peers and then treat their families and keep them in the community. We also want to help them become independent, successful adults. When I was looking at your community, we were able to really look at and research what type of insurance your community has. So we were able to look at, we do research based on the touch points Erin showed you because we've been in your district. Based on the Medicaid students that you have, it would offset your contract on an annual basis about $3,500. We do it on a very conservative way based off of if 40% of your parents opt in. And then for commercial students, about $4,500 a year, and that's about $8,000 total. And that's very, very conservative. And so if you were to move forward, we would offset your contract to $8,000. And then if it were to go over and you had more parents opt in, we would then offset your contract even more. If you guys want to engage in this program, this would be the next step. We started this in March of last year, and we have had a lot of learnings so far. Currently, we are in 18 districts doing this very, very successfully on the East Coast. And our first learning actually was we originally thought it would be best for districts to present this to parents. It did not work so successfully. We know that parents sometimes have a hard time receiving information from school districts because the minute they get a letter or a phone call from a district, they think their child sometimes is in trouble. And so there are 3 options we can do. If you, as a district, want to reach out to parents with a letter, we have all the collateral and letters and everything built for you. We send them to you in a Word document. You could put your district letterhead on it and send it out. We can send it out on our letterhead with your approval. We always give you the information, you approve it, and we will send it out. The third option is for us to both put our letterhead on it and send it out in partnership, which has been super successful. After that, everything will fall on us. We will then collect all the insurance information. It is an opt-in program only. Parents have to give us the approval to be able to use their insurance. They would give us their information, and we store it on a very secure platform that is HIPAA and FERPA compliant, and we would bill the insurance companies with the parents' approval. After that, we would submit claims and do a trend analysis, and then we do a lot of reconciliations and offset your contracts moving forward. We do a lot of data analyzation and share that analyzation with you. Oh, sorry, that's your slide, Erin. It is a very new program in terms of being new for a year. In California, like I said, it is something that's written into the law, and we hope it does move across the U.S. Very rapidly. But we are very excited to see it grow very, very quickly and very successfully throughout the U.S. Do you guys have? I'm sure you have lots of questions. That was a lot of information to throw at you very quickly.
Who wants to start? Anyone have any questions?
Can I let those?
Sure, go ahead.
So when we talked about this, a lot went through my mind, right? I'm like, oh God, okay, we're paying for this. We're going to ask parents to pay for this service. However, we already ask parents, have always asked parents, Medicaid, Medicare, I always mess it up. Which one is it? Medicaid reimbursement for kids who receive OT, PT, depending on special SLP. We actually do this already in other areas. We just have never done it in mental health before. And what has happened is programs like this that have been successful, districts can't afford. So they're, like she said, looking for ways so that we could afford it. Parents get to opt out, opt in.
Do they get to opt out in those other areas too that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They can opt out or in. So we are already doing this. We also have a program in all of our schools this year. It's called ROOT. And ROOT is behavioral supports, mental health supports, where we provide a space for a therapist to come in and work with students. And that service is paid through the person's insurance. And we make it easier for parents so they don't have to bring their kids to therapy after school or before school. So we, in a lot of ways, already do this. I don't, at first you're thinking to yourself, oh, geez. But in the end, if it means not having a program or offsetting our this program, and we do it with in other areas, why not if there's no cost to the parent right out of their pocket? So that's just what I wanted to clarify.
There is no fiscal obligation to parents at all. There can be no fiscal exchange between parents because the contract is with the district. And so when you're thinking about fiscal information, and that's one of the first questions that come up with parents, I can tell you the learning. So what we would give you guys are the frequently asked questions. We've compiled 3 different frequently asked questions. One from districts that we've collected since March, one from parents that we can show you, and we will give that to clinicians. We share it with clinicians of how to answer questions for parents. So the fiscal obligation if there is a copay, that's covered by the district contract, and there's no money exchanged. If there's an open deductible, we don't submit the claim. But you need to be really careful in terms of Medicaid. Like you talked about, if there's speech and language, OT, nursing, anything like that, that is something the district already does. And yes, a parent can opt out. We could potentially bill for Medicaid on your behalf too. We do have that license as well. And our rate is different than a school district rate. Typically your rate is lower than a private rate. But that would take a lot of coordination and collaboration, and that's something we can do on your behalf as well. But it's something that's very popular, and it takes the administrative burden off of you in the district.
Lori.
I just have a question. So you're saying that if we were to do this, you would deduct $8,000 off of the amount.
That's the estimate. Do you want? I'm sorry, Natasha. Do you want to answer there, or do you want me to answer?
That's not my whole.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say my whole question. So from what I think I heard you say, that $8,000 would be the difference lower if we went with this, because you're expecting, being conservative, that it would be at least $8,000 approximately. So I just want to clarify that. Also, is there a fee that you're charging to do all this paperwork and file all these claims? Or are you just going to take $8,000? Like, what's your incentive to be filing all these claims? Is it just?
I'll answer all three questions. So yes, the $8,000 is what would be offset of your contract for the 25-26 school year. There is no fee at all that we would charge. The incentive for us is to be able to continue to keep you as a partner and have a longer term partnership. I would say that is the incentive. We need to keep serving our students. If that $8,000, the risk is on us. Honestly, that $8,000 is something that we're going to guarantee, and we don't know the option rate for you. If it goes over $8,000, that is our responsibility to give you back above that $8,000 to offset your contract. We will risk. We're not going to say, oh, we didn't meet that $8,000. We're going to take back that $8,000. You will for sure get $8,000 off to offset your contract. But there is no risk on your side. This is something that we're really interested in doing and moving forward with. We built the platform and we use it nationwide. And so the incentive for us is really to be able to serve more kids and make an impact nationwide. I mean, this is something that I'm very passionate about.
Any other questions? Did I see three?
Answer all three of your questions. I hope I did.
Thank you. I think you did.
Yes,
Lori.
thank you.
Okay. Kelly, go ahead with your question. Say it loud and clear.
Yeah, mine is more for Dr. Macri. So if we do this through ESS, are you still keeping root and ESS?
Oh, yeah, we'll never.
Okay, so both,
Whatever we
even
can
though they
get.
may overlap.
So
You can't duplicate billing, so it's
Right.
really important to share caseload.
Yeah,
So
we
if
have to.
you have one provider serving one set of students, it would be important to document who's serving who, because you cannot double bill.
Right. So we would have to be careful to not do that. And a lot of our students, I shouldn't say that. We have a lot of kids receiving therapy from Root in elementary, and we're not even, ESS isn't even in the elementary realm. But we definitely have to be careful not to duplicate like Natasha said, they're saying maybe 40% of our parents will participate, so they'll start with the 8,000. However, if more, Natasha, right? I think I know this answer, and you just said it. Participate, then that cost would be given to us to offset the contract as well. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's very correct. So I can tell you right now we have about a 75% opt-in rate across the U.S.
As people learn more
As a board,
about it.
I don't want to give you that opt-in rate
Right.
and that cost because I would hate to come back to you and say it was only 40%.
And no, like you said, no, there's no pay out of pocket for parents. If there's a copay, we pick it up. The district, you're still billing us for all of that, and yeah. And at the end of the day,
For that. We are not. No. So yes and no. The contract that you have signed with ESS
includes the
that
copay.
that comes out of that contract.
Got it.
cost. You've already paid it.
Got it.
Alicia, did you have a question?
Yep.
So what is our current term for the contract? Because I think I heard Natasha say we'd have to extend our contract for a 3 to 5 year period, and that's not typically how we budget. So every year we look at our budget and we make it, you all make a recommendation about whether we should continue with ESS or look at some other options. So I'm a little concerned about locking into a 5-year contract term.
Right, so Natasha.
You don't have to lock into a 5-year contract. That's just, this is a way for us to look at, like, extending your contract. You can still do an annual contract, a 12-month contract. This is just a way for us to look at what would the cost be from a 3 to 5 year perspective. You can still totally do a 12-month contract.
Yeah, Alicia, we would never do more than a 1 year at a
Okay.
time, just because we don't know what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Right, so I never want to cut this, but would this possibly be on the, depending on how much money we get? Yes, which is why this could help us in the future. The Board of Finance likes to see that we try creative ways on how to offset some of our costs, and this is a way, but we would never do more than a 1 year
that's
contract
helpful.
at a time.
And then second question is just, you said 18 other districts currently do this. I'd be interested in just learning a little bit more about their experience, if you have any data from the other districts about how this has worked for them and what kind of offsets they've seen.
I wish I could give you that information. When I do have it, I can give it to you. Because this is the first full year that we are collecting all the data, I wouldn't have a lot to give you. It started in March, but we didn't start billing until at the end of the summer. It takes a long time to get people credentialed and to start getting the parents to sign information. So we are currently billing. We've been billing for a few months, but the program started in March.
Natasha, would it be okay for me to share one of the neighboring districts that opted in? So Middletown has opted in for this as well. So they did just begin this past bargaining period.
And when's their contract up
It's
with
every year.
ESS? So when do we need to make
Negotiate.
this decision by?
Well, it's only, right now, we're only talking $8,000, so we have to negotiate the contract anyway. I could put it in and I can leave it out. You know what I mean? I can give you
For the next budget year, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Natasha, would we be able to implement this for this current school year as well and provide a discount, or would it be starting next school year?
Typically, the $8,000 is for the next school year. You can implement the program whenever you want, but that's something we can take back and then come back to you with an answer, for sure.
Okay. Oh, Matt, you have a question?
Just to be clear, I mean, essentially, all we'd be asking the families of the students who are receiving the services to do would be to sign a paper allowing us to, or allowing you to bill Medicaid and bill private insurance companies. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that the parental action is basically a signature and a date. So it's really not dissimilar from the forms we already use to bill Medicaid for SLP, OT, all that stuff. So it's new, but it's not new. It's almost just like an extension of what we're already doing. So the hard part, I guess, is how do we sell the families on it, right? Because we want to get as many signatures as we can, because we want
have a
to.
lot of collateral that we've built for families, whether it's data, there's a lot of shortage of providers, and there's a lot of talking points that we've created to share with parents. We made the process very similar to if they had an outside provider, just to make them very, very comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Lori, go ahead. We have one more question.
This is more for Sari. So currently, the Medicaid billing, is that's for speech, OT, and PT. That's only for the Medicaid, students on Medicaid. Is that correct?
Yeah, and yep,
And-
and all related service, speech, OT, PT, and.
And how do you, with families, like determining who's on Medicaid and who's not, and who has that information?
We have a system. It's called Relay. It's the hub that the state uses right now, and they actually manage all of that, and everything is confidential. The names go in. The providers are able to put their billing record logs in, and they do that monthly in order to get the money back. And if parents sign consent, we're able to bill, and if they qualify, obviously through Medicaid, and then if they don't, we don't bill for them.
Can I just ask one more question? Of course. Currently, in our district, what is the consent rate for our parents for that group?
I don't have have that right now, but I could probably log in tomorrow and get it for you.
I'm just curious, just to
get
get an idea of in our town, what are we looking at? Like for that group, that would give us a good indicator of.
Sounds like there's no harm. I
Yeah,
mean, you
no harm.
offer it, and whether they take it or not, it doesn't really make a difference to us. We'll still,
I know. I still want to have an idea. I think that would. Yeah, I still want to know that.
Go ahead, Alicia.
And you guys are the direct billers, so you're assuming all Medicaid audit risk, not the district?
Wait, say that one more time.
If there's ever an audit, a mistake in the
Oh,
billing.
we're audited, not you.
Okay, we don't assume any of the risk. Okay.
Yeah, that would be my first question as a district as well, because Medicaid is really fun.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Steve?
I heard you say about the deductibles and with high deductible health plans. I just wanted to confirm that if you had a deductible, the parent would not be responsible to pay.
Correct. Parent is not responsible for anything financial related.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for all this information. Appreciate the update. We'll consider it in our budgeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just
sorry, I
have
thought
two
you were
more
wrapping
quick
up.
updates.
Okay.
I just wanted to share some family quotes that were provided. One parent said, "You guys are wonderful. I only wish my son had ESS in the middle school." We're there now. And I am so appreciative of your encouraging words, and so thankful for you and the whole team. Bless you. Then my very last slide is actually just on, each couple of months we gather. I work with either Enza, Sari quite frequently, the admin teams, and just kind of compile what we feel has been working and there's areas that we're going to continue to focus on. So we highlighted that we're going to continue to provide the clinical and administrative oversight, ongoing assessment of program implementation, continue that implementation of identified school rules and making sure that is implemented in each program, that the engagement is high, that the clinicians are consistent with our students. Our collaboration and feedback with ESS clinicians and teachers has been extremely positive. We have positive parent engagement. We're going to continue to work collaboratively and receive constructive and positive feedback from the district. It's extremely important for us to hear from our district team members to make sure that we're providing the services that they're expecting. Continue to assess for appropriate groups and learning strategies that serve effective interventions. Assess for appropriate referrals, start to discuss if there's any potential ODP returners that we can bring back in, develop and assess the period for a lack of engagement. Sometimes if we have a lack of engagement with our within our programs, right, that's not necessarily the best students that are served or the best families that are served. So we are constantly assessing for what our best strategies are for that. Continuing to explore creative parent engagement strategies so that we can maintain and increase engagement always.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
I just want to, and Erin and Sari, please jump in. So if you remember, we received the $150,000 grant last year so that we could implement ESS at the middle school with a little bit of a different model. It's going incredibly well. I know Ms. Cucciolo is here somewhere, and Ms. Middlebrooks. The amount of time that it's, because there's a clinician in the building, that the program is helping with students that need more supports, more intensive supports, so that our staff can then work with students who need lesser supports but still need them, has been incredible this year, is my understanding, from our meetings and from talking with Ms. Cucciolo and Ms. Middlebrooks. We do not have funding for this next year, so you will see a couple of things. I will be working, and I think we already have a meeting scheduled with Natasha, yeah.
I oversee grants.
Yeah, you oversee. That's what I thought. I'm like, Gina, there's two Natashas overseeing. So Natasha's going to help us look for grants so that we can continue to provide this service in the middle school. We may find some, we may not. However, what we are paying for it has prevented us from any outplacements. And then we also are looking for other grants as well, so that we can continue this in the middle school. It's definitely worth it for the middle and the high school. So I just wanted to put that out there to you so that when you see that in our budget, it could be a chunk of money based on what we need for grant money.
Matt, you have a follow-up?
I'm curious about this, and it may not be something you can answer. Just a rough estimate. What's our cost savings? I mean, there's a cost associated with this, but it's also, I'm hearing it's preventing outplacements of students and, more intensive therapeutic interventions that would be an additional cost to the district outside of this. Rough estimate, what's our cost savings? This costs us, let's say, I don't know what our contract is. Let's say it's $350,000 a year. What do we estimate that we're saving?
Wait.
Rough idea, ballpark.
For both programs, you mean, or just the middle? For
both,
the whole?
both total, the whole thing.
And I would.
I know it's a big ask. I'm not looking for exact.
It's a really
big. I'm not going to hold you to
I
it.
don't want to put a hard number because, as we know, it's not apples to apples. And there's definitely kids we're bringing back, putting into ESS. There's also kids that are not in their least restrictive environments. So we are, still looking at outplacement. But I would say rough.
We're saving more than we're spending.
I would say rough, maybe 300,000 savings. That was very, very. I don't know if Dr. Macri was going to say less or more, but
I just want to know that we're seeing a savings.
I was thinking between 300 and 400 based on the middle school model of. See, there's so many rules of making sure that we can. To protect confidentiality.
I've got my answer.
We're at least covering the cost of the program.
We are
the
covering
has
the
been
cost
answered.
and the cost, and then some, and we're doing some really awesome things for kids and families.
I guess the other question is, across all districts, we are seeing from what I'm hearing, an exponential rise in behavioral and emotional issues in elementary level. Are we looking to expand ESS to the elementary level? Is that something ESS does? Do they go to that level?
They're
Is
working
that
on
something
that,
we're
right?
kind of going forward with?
We do.
Yeah, they're working on that component, but because I just looked at the numbers, I had Lisa Case pull the numbers for me. Oh my gosh, what's today? Thursday. So on Thursday to pull how many students we have outplaced in every school, and what are we spending to outplace? What would it cost if we were going to have our own program, in-house program, or would it be more cost effective if we were to use ESS? And I'd have to learn a lot more from ESS about their elementary program, just because that is my area of expertise, and they'd have to prove to me that they could do it better. And if they can, and cheaper and better, obviously we're all ears. Secondary has been successful. Elementary is so difficult because there's so much hands-on. And I say hands-on, safety holds to keep kids safe, and that's where ESS, and that could possibly have changed over time. No one likes to put their hands on kids. Let me make that very, very, very clear. But sometimes we have to because of safety, for safety reasons, and that's where I would have a lot of questions for ESS. How would you help us do it better?
Well, it's rooted in developmentally at that age. They don't have the ability to communicate what they're feeling or sensing verbally, so it tends to come out behaviorally, and that's why you have more hands-on physical approach that needs to happen from time to time.
And I'd love
that.
to get to the point of where they're so, we can de-escalate verbally and with so much that we never have to do that. We are just not there yet. And the reality of it is I have to face that and make sure that we continue to have the right people trained and all of that.
Yep. PMT training. It's it's all safety.
It's all safety.
And dignity.
And dignity. Absolutely. I wish we could never have to do that again.
Okay. Are we all set? Any other questions? All right. So we'll continue to
wanna
have our
point out that-
updates, and we'll talk about it more during our budget. I'm sorry. Did you?
Kelly's
really
not here to silence me. I just want to point that out.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, and that will be attached to the minutes, I assume, Lisa? You have a copy? Okay. All right. From here, we'll move on to the Accountability Index for State Assessments, reference B in your packets. Dr. Carrie McLean, if you can come on up.
Hi, everyone. So, Steve, you have it.
Is the mic on? It should be, but
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
I just have to.
It's very quiet tonight.
Yeah. Steve just turned it up too, and I might need to look at a new mic for up there.
Okay, so this is our accountability index for this year. We did see a lot of improvements. Basically, this is what used to be called our report card. They don't call it that anymore, but we did have some growth, particularly if you look at indicator 2A, 2B, and even 2C. There was some great growth there, and so what those indicators mean is that whether a student has met goal on assessments or not, they have an expected growth margin. And however close they get to that, we get more points for how close they get to that mark. So you can see that our kids are growing, which is really what you want to see. For indicator 6, where we saw a loss, we are actually talking to the state about this because we are not 100% sure based on our own internal data how that is, because we saw an increase, particularly in AP scores. So we actually have several emails out to Ajit right now trying to figure out what that indicator means and how it's calculated, because that didn't sit right with us. Indicator 5 is how many students are taking the courses, and indicator 6 is how many pass them. Arts access was another place where we went down a little bit. We did struggle with our art program last year, but as you guys know, you've just approved a bunch of art classes for our kids that I think is going to really help in that area. So I'm excited for next year, and in this data next year, we will see all of those courses that we added with Central. So all of those courses will then count towards this year's accountability index. You guys have questions?
Okay. All right, so looks
Overall,
like
wait, you guys can't even see the bottom.
we have, there's 2 pages, right?
Well, there's a state.
It's just
The state is the second tab. We always like to look. We know that we do better than the state. Yeah, that's okay. I can control it from there. Well, there's a microphone. Let me do it. Yeah, that's fine. You could just scroll. I just want them to see the bottom. Yep. So that's the difference between us and the state. And then
And when we look at this again, it'd be interesting to keep this copy and then be able to compare it, because I don't think it does year to year, right? So
yeah, no, that is last year's versus
oh,
this year's.
okay.
Yep.
So we'll see that next year
So
as well.
see that last column is how much we grew or how much we lost over the last year.
Yeah. So we'll see 3 columns next year, or no? All right. Any questions?
Is there information on our DIRG? How we did? I mean, the state. Yeah, I'm not.
It's not, well, we wouldn't be able to pull it because every district has their own separate report card. So the state kind of pulls the average of everyone, but we'd have to average all of the schools individually in our DIRG. I mean, I suppose we could do that, but we'd have to pull every schools and then average all of the indicators. I mean, we look at them, you know, how do we compare with Rocky Hill, and we've done better.
So how do we?
We're getting better. You know, I would say we're somewhere right in the middle. Rocky Hill does do better than us.
Rocky Hill does better for us.
Yeah.
No, they're not in our DIRG anyway.
They're not. Rocky Hill is.
No, not Glastonbury, yeah. Who?
We fell with Berlin, and we were
Berlin.
probably pretty close. Because I'm just thinking about our scores. I mean, I would say, once we figure out that because I know that's a mistake since we got the silver instead of the bronze with our AP courses. So something was
Yeah.
coded wrong. I mean, it's close to our scores, like in the scores
Like,
that we
you know, when
presented to you
we
in
do
the
the
DIRG. You
where
know
we
how we
land
present the
in the
DIRG.
DIRG.
It's probably very similar to that.
And this is just informational for us. It doesn't have any impact on anything beyond Cromwell.
No.
It's just so we get the data, and then once all the data is calculated, the state gives us our report card.
Right. And we just want to always see the trend going up.
Mhm.
So,
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. All right, we'll move on to action item C, approval of Cromwell High School out-of-state field trips, reference C in your packet. Just have to pull mine up. Is anyone coming up to, no, we probably need that, right? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up on my computer here. It's just the field trip approval.
oh, no, just if there's, do you have any questions? Andrew is here
Okay.
for reference C. Mr. Cockle.
Rhode Island, out-of-state field trip, okay.
Right, if anyone has any questions. About the Rhode Island trip. Wait. Out-of-state field trip reference.
The trip is for members of the junior class. Not the entire junior class, but we typically take 50 to about 70. That time of year, it's about as many students that want to go and can fit it because we don't get back until sports have started that day.
Okay, any questions on that field trip? Is there a motion to approve the field trip?
Do you have a question?
Go first if you have a question.
No.
I just-
I've done this field trip before.
It's the question I always have. If there is a family in need that can't afford the fee, we got them covered.
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
Yep.
We always. It's okay. That is so huge to me. But
Was
you
that a
can ask
motion,
about it.
Catherine?
Huge.
Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Field trip is approved. All right, action item D, approval of new Cromwell High School First Aid, CPR, and Healthcare Career Choice course, reference D in your packets. It looks like we have a few of them. Do we want to do them all separate? D, E, and F?
Carrie here and
Andrew,
F.
would you like to explain?
Dr. McLean? Or do you have one of our?
No, yeah, we could do them all at once. I mean, they're, if that's okay, unless is that out of order? All right. So all three courses fit into our career path in the allied health field. Based on survey data from students, overwhelmingly a large number want to go into the medical field. So we have 2 staff members, one within the health department and one in the science department, that have decided to help us by adding courses. So on the 2 of them are UConn credited courses. So it adds to our dual enrollment, which would be reflected in that accountability result that you saw in a few years. So Intro to Allied Health Professions and Medical Terminology. So you would sign up for essentially a year-long course. And after completion of that, assuming you've met all the criteria, you can get up to, I believe the total number is 3 UConn credits based on how well you do in those courses. And those, again, pretty self-explanatory. They provide students with an overview of various allied health professions. A variety of allied health professions will be highlighted, and we actually, a big part of that course is collaboration with these entities. So we would have Middlesex Hospital come in, and we would have these other health field professionals come in. We actually have to have partnerships as part of that specific UConn course, partnerships with these different medical fields and medical businesses and doctors that will be coming in to speak with the class. So those 2 would be taught by one of our teachers, and then on the other side we have Mrs. Turner with the first aid CPR course, which many high schools do offer, and I think for us it's a way for us to bolster that health pathway, that allied health pathway, and offer students a really good insight into life-saving measures and things like that.
Catherine, go ahead.
Is the field trip to Hartford Hospital a requirement for the ECE credit?
I'd have to double check on that. I know the partnerships are a requirement. So part of UConn allowing one of our teachers to teach there is we have to have relationships and contacts with 12 folks in the medical field that would then come in. We would go to them. So they are connected. One, something we put in for next year for the for Mrs. Turner's first aid CPR is a visit to the Lifestar hangar. We added that as a field trip next year with that course. There's that one, but I don't believe it's required. But there is field experience where that's part of. We want them to see what it's about.
The first aid CPR is not the Yukon credit one, but the
No.
other two are.
No,
correct?
the other
And
two
it's-
are, yeah. So
it's
it's-
listed underneath there, a field trip to Hartford Hospital. I just didn't
Yeah.
know if it was a requirement for them to complete the course.
Yeah, that's for the Sarah Turner's clerk. Yeah, the Allied Health one is. I don't believe it's not. I don't believe that is mandatory, but I can get back to you on that one.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is one of these an online course? I was just looking at the third one.
Terminology one?
No.
Yeah, the medical terminology, it says, under the funding section, it says it's an online course.
Or is it just online?
In terms of accessing, like
Okay, but
the
there's
material.
still a,
Mhm.
okay, a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, and these look like they have about 15 students are able to enroll in these each. So
That's
it's
a rough
small
estimate, yeah,
Small classes.
to
And
start.
You have interest, obviously, I'm
Mhm.
assuming.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, would anyone like to approve all three new courses? And that would be reference D, E, and F. By Kelly Cloutier, second by Allen. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All three are approved for next year. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item G, approval of special minutes and motions from our November 12th special meeting, reference G in your packets. Is there a motion to approve them? Motion. By Lori, is there a second?
Second.
Catherine, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Item H, action of minutes, I'm sorry, I just said that one. Item I, stipend approval, 2023, 2024. I was? Oh, it looked like I was duplicating myself. Okay. Regular meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes?
Motion.
Lori, second by Matt. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Regular meeting minutes are approved. Now we'll move on to action item I, stipend approval, reference I in your packets. Any questions on that? All right, is there a motion to approve it? Alicia, is there a second? Matt, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Stipend is approved. The stipend approval?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I.
All right, and then we have the informational human resources personnel activity, reference J in your packets.
Okay,
Informational, but if you have, do you want to add something?
Yes.
Sure.
I just would like to thank. Mrs. Luann Owett. She has worked with us, Owett. I always say her last name wrong, for 17 years. And she has finally decided to retire with tears. I was like, these should be tears of joy. She has a second grandchild on the way. So we thank her for her service to Cromwell Public Schools. She has been a school secretary. She's been at central office. She's been a joy to work with. And I am just so sad for us, but incredibly happy for her that she is now get to enjoy her grandchildren. So a sincere thank you to her. And you may notice that Laura Mangiafico is here. She also has decided to go back into the workforce that she was in before this. She felt that she missed it and she gave something else a try, and we thank her for being so kind and helping us during that time.
Right. Well, definitely thank Luann for her service and her dedication to the district. And yeah, we wish Laura well. All right. From there, we'll go on to the principal reports. Any questions on those? Informational. Okay, we'll go on to policies. These are second reads, and we have A through F. Reference O, P, Q, R, S, and T. Any questions on any of those policies? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to approve? Make a motion to approve all of A through F. Lori, is there a second? Kelly Cluter, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. They are all approved. We have none on for first read tonight. Board committee reports. Policy met this evening. Lori, do you want to give a brief update?
No, we got through a lot, and we repealed a lot at the end, and yeah, we got a lot done. So our next meeting, I believe, is January.
Might be February because I know facilities is January. Oh, the end of the month?
I thought we had one in January, yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you for all your hard work, everyone that's on that committee. And facilities and technology, we meet again in January. So nothing to add there. Topics for future agendas and possible action to approve additional topics. Does anyone have anything they'd like to see on the agenda? Matt.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind exploring the addition of Diwali. Take a look at that, since that seems to be of interest to folks in our community.
Okay, does anyone else concur? This is a bigger conversation. We'll have to probably look at other holidays and
yeah, I think just
inclusive of all
start the
holidays.
discussion.
So,
I agree with Matt, and I actually have questions for Mr. Cockle and the students about what they were thinking it would look like to include it in, whether it's something more along the lines of what we do for Veterans Day, or if it's something related to taking the day off. So, and how we would include it into curriculum if we choose to add it as a Veterans Day type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have some additional follow-up questions if we're going to look into it and adding it in.
okay, sounds good. Alicia, did you want to say something?
I just wonder if they could go back and do some thinking about what their proposals, Sagar mentioned proposals, so maybe you could share some ideas for how we could recognize the holiday, recognize it, maybe alternatives to potentially changing the school calendar, but some other ways that we can use it as an opportunity to educate. I love what we do for Veterans Day.
Yeah.
So thinking about that as a model. So we are open to your ideas and suggestions, and maybe you can engage in some conversation with Mr. Cockle and bring it back to us.
Piggyback off. Sure. Just, they made the point of educating our students on Diwali and what it's like for them, and to make it more inclusive and remove any stigmas or questions that other students may have related to it, to keep it an all-inclusive school system, because we do have a lot. You're right. They're right. We have a lot that celebrate. So coming up with some solution for it would be something we should definitely explore.
Great. We'll add that to a future agenda, and we'll definitely circle back with those who came and spoke tonight so we can get your input. All right, from here, we do have an executive session. So is there a motion to go into executive session for discussion of a possible appointment of an assistant superintendent of schools effective July 1st, 2025, with the invite of Dr. Macri? Matt, second. Alan, was that you? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Okay, and we'll go into executive session at 8:31. Thank you all. Have a great evening.